Morning. I want to welcome Shari from the Deaf Action Center. Okay, today is September 12th, 2024. We are at the Emergency Operations Center for the 2 p.m. briefing. I want to thank everybody for being with us. I'm Parish President Cynthia Sheng. I have with us today, let me go through the list so I don't forget anyone, and some of these people will come up to speak. So our Sheriff of Jefferson Parish, Joseph Lapinto, our Chairman of the Council, Chairman Scott Walker. From our Jefferson Parish School System, I believe we have, is Dr. Gray here? We're going to have Patrick Jenkins. Okay, hi, Patrick. Joe Valiente is our Head of Emergency Operations. Thank you, Joe. You got some sleep? You're here? Okay. Chief Administrative Assistant Sarah Babcock, our Director of Public Works Mark Drews, as well as our Director of Drainage Ben Lapine, and they're going to give you very detailed explanation of what they've learned since last night. Our Entergy Customer Service Manager Jimmy Aiken. Is Jimmy here? Yeah, okay, sorry. Hi, Jimmy. Atmos Energy Public Affairs Manager Leah Obi. Leah? Yes, okay. Our Director of West Bank Fire Services, Don Robertson, and our Director of East Bank Consolidated, Charlie Hudson. They'll be there, as well as Councilwoman at Large Division A, Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin is here. I said Scott Walker, you'll hear from him representing the council. Councilman for District 2, Dino Bonanno is here. Okay, Dino. Councilwoman for District 4, Arita Bohannon. We were up, did you get any sleep? We were up very late. We were up in the morning on the Kenner, in Kenner. Councilwoman for District 5, Hans Liljeberg is here. We have our Mayor of Kenner. I don't know if you got any sleep either, Mayor Glazer, Mayor of Kenner, Michael Glazer, as well as Councilman Joey Lahat from Kenner. I think we saw him. Did I forget anybody? No? Okay, good. All right, let's get started. We have a lot of detail to give you regarding Hurricane Francine. We're glad she's gone. First thing we'll always try to get through is putting this in perspective, in that we always try to get through without any major injuries or loss of life. So I'm happy to report to you today that that was the case for this storm. No loss of life or major injuries that we were aware of through the evening, okay? Every hurricane is different. I'm thinking back about Ida, how different this hurricane looks for us with Francine. So in summary, for us in Jefferson Parish, Francine ended up being a heavy rain event which caused street flooding, a lot of street flooding, especially on the east bank of Jefferson Parish, especially in Kenner. We know there's structural house flooding, and I'm going to give, when you hear from Mayor Mike Glazer and Councilwoman Arita Bohannon, they're going to give you structural, they have the data on the structures that have flooded. They know about that. And obviously it's a major electrical outage event that we have, and we have Entergy here to give us an update. And then this storm was different in that it also, early in the evening last night, put a strain on our sewer system with the inflow and infiltration problem that we had. And we want to thank everybody for working with us on that. And we'll give you, Mark's going to give you detail about what the status of that is, the I&I issue we talk about. I want to tell you, I've reached out to all the mayors. We're normally very concerned about Grand Isle and Lafitte. I spoke with Mayor Carmodell probably in the afternoon time. He was very excited looking at the radar coming in. He thought they were going to fare well. I really didn't understand what he was talking about, and then I got back here and saw the weather reports, and just the way the storm came in, they did fare very, very well, just how the storm broke off a little bit at the bottom. So that was good for us in Lower Jefferson Parish, which is normally our very vulnerable areas. I want to give a special shout out and thanks to the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West in Lafitte. They immediately began sandbagging, and they do have some levee systems that were under construction, but some of them were not, and they wanted to continue that wall the best they could. They were looking for HESCO baskets. We don't have HESCO baskets in Jefferson Parish. We were trying to supply it. Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West came in big for us with HESCO baskets. Joe was working on that feverishly yesterday, so we want to thank them for that. Mayor Kerner, I spoke with him this morning. He really said that made all the difference, so we want to thank them for that. All right, let's move to the discussion of Upper Jefferson with the drainage issues. As I told you, leading up to the days, and Mark told you, we went into the storm parish-wide with 192 out of 194 pumps operational. And basically what I'll say is all the pumps were working, with the exception of a few that we're going to give you more detail about that affected Kenner. And Mark is going to give you very much detail about those, about that. So our system was simply, the best way to put it, we were just outpaced with the sheer amount and volume of water that Hurricane Francine dumped on us, okay? How we normally view our drainage system is just very general. We can pump 1 inch for the first hour and a ½ inch every hour after that. Remember, we're going into the storm with saturated soils from all the rain that occurred last week. So put that in perspective of where we are. For the East Bank, we experienced 7 to 9 inches of rain. Some areas getting over a dozen inches of rain. 12.2 was one of the high points we registered on the East Bank. For the West Bank, this is the story for the West Bank, they only had 5 inches of rain. I think that's why they fared much better. I think we only had 1 house structural flooding on the West Bank that I know of in Bridge City. West Bank fared much, much better, okay? Because of these rain totals that I'm giving you. 7 to 9 inches of rain, average on the East Bank with as high as 12.2 inches of rain. As of this morning, our pumps have caught up. The water has receded. Mayor, you felt like all the streets are passable? No, Councilwoman Rita Hannon? No, okay. So we got word from them early this morning, and I want to confirm it with Mark. No water in the streets, no overtop canals in Kenner. Okay. During the storm, I was able to, so last night when I was here and we were riding out the storm here, we were getting pictures from people, grabbing pictures, and I knew certain areas with certain intersections that was terrible, incredibly high water, namely one that we posted on my page, Transcontinental and West Esplanade, like a lake, right? Just looked like a lake. We were finally able to leave here at 1:30 when we felt like we could get out there, get our high water vehicle out there and not push more water into people's homes or businesses. We left here at about 1:30, and luckily when I got to the East Bank, in those same areas that I saw very, very high water, I saw the water receding. So we knew the pumps were working. Throughout the East Bank, we were seeing the water go down. Was not going down in Kenner, maybe not as deep, but Kenner water, you guys were out with me early in the morning, both the mayor and Councilwoman Bohannon. 4 o'clock, 4:30, it was still high water. You got stuck. I think you both got stuck in areas. So that's where we were. So I was very glad to wake up this morning and hear that the water receded in Kenner. But as of this early in the morning, 4:30, we still had much of Kenner that was inundated with water and flooded streets. Okay. So as I said, Mark is going to give you more detail about what we learned. We learned a little last night. When the media was calling, I took about an hour off. Mark and I sat down. He got with his people. We were able to tell you what we were knowing on the spot. As soon as Mark was telling me, I was doing the media, is giving you as much information as quickly as possible as I could, right? Mark was just sitting with me. I don't know what time that was, Mark. We were there, and we did 3 or 4 media right after that. Midnight to 1, Mark came with me with data that he had. We knew we had some problems with some pumps. I literally did media right at that time, maybe talk to some of you, okay? We will, let me move on and you'll hear more from them. Let's talk about sheltering. We ended up sheltering 67 people at Terrytown last night, including some families that were actually from Kenner that requested in the middle of the night to get moved to Terrytown. At present, there are 12 people there. Sarah's going to talk a little bit more about those operations. I really want to thank, and this is what's different from Ida, our recreation employees actually do the sheltering for us. So the people that give you baseball and football are trained to shelter people in the storm, and that is really, since Ida, we've really upped our game on that level. I want to thank our recreation employees who do this. They take a pride in doing it. They're happy to do it. We've trained for this, and they really got to shine last night. Jefferson Parish Human Services Authority was there helping us, along with the Sheriff's Office. I want to thank the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, you had people there the whole time with us. The whole time, every time I went there was a uniformed officer right at the door. I want to thank you for that. LCMC, EMS for their assistance as well. So all those teams helped us in running the shelter, and many, many people were glad to have that. I met a lovely couple. They were not homeless. They had a home. They were afraid the tree was going to fall on it, so that's what we said. Anybody who didn't feel comfortable in their home to go to the shelter. We're going to open bright on the East Bank for anybody who needs it. I'm going to let Sarah Babcock give more details on that. Want to move real quickly to the inflow and infiltration issue that we were talking to you about early last evening. Early in the afternoon, I got a phone call that somebody couldn't flush their toilet, and we knew what we kind of saw what was going to happen. We asked residents to limit their household water usage. So let me go back. I&I problem, inflow and infiltration, is when your sewer system, on a normal day, your sewer system handles all the water that you use in your house flushing your toilet, doing your laundry, doing the dishes, that goes into a sewer system. When we're inundated with rainwater or stormwater and we have broken pipes underneath the ground, it seeps into the sewer system. So basically, the sewer system is handling the normal sewer plus a huge inflow of volume of water from the rain, from the hurricane that it brought down. It basically just gets overwhelmed. The system, the water has nowhere to go, and it'll actually back up into your home or back up into the street with sewer water. That's why early in the evening we pushed out, please limit your water usage so we can reduce backups. The last thing you want is a backup in your home. So I want to thank everyone for cooperating with us. I felt like that problem didn't worsen throughout the night, okay? So I want to thank about 8:30 when we were starting to get the high water calls, maybe some flooded structure calls. We moved on to that issue, and I did not become a bigger problem for us. So I want to thank you for your cooperation with that last night. Our public crews have been out since early morning assessing damages and removing all hazards from the roadways. I'm told that all the roads are clear, and passable. And again, I want to thank the Louisiana Army National Guard yesterday for being present in Jefferson Parish and waiting to respond. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness has been in touch with us. The Governor has reached out to me several times during the storm. We want to thank the state for their cooperation and feeling like they're with us on the storm, so we want to thank them. And then, of course, all of our first responders, all of our Jefferson Parish employees who work throughout the day and night to prepare, respond to, and assist our residents. So a big thank you on that. Let me move on to office closures. Jefferson Parish government offices, including our animal protection and welfare services, libraries, and recreational facilities, we're going to remain closed tomorrow, Friday, September 13th. We will be closed tomorrow. Garbage collection will resume tomorrow. Trash drop-off sites will also be open. So garbage pickup is a go for tomorrow, and trash drop-off sites will open. We want you to keep your carts separate from anything else so that the garbage can be taken away quickly. Remember, we have those automated trucks, keep it separate. And then the second priority is bagged waste. Keep bags separate from loose debris, which driving around the parish, it was not a high debris event, but I know some streets had some, trees damaged, but I really am glad that it was not a terribly destructive lot of debris event. That's what I was very surprised with driving around last night. It's early to tell where the vegetation will be picked up separately from construction and demolition, so it's just best to keep it in separate piles, okay? Put everything in your cart that you can fit, but the lids must be able to be closed. The lids we want to be able to close. Do not stuff it so that your lid is popping up. Transit, bus, and paratransit services were restored at 8:40 a.m. this morning. As a precaution, we'll be traveling at reduced speeds and treating all the main intersections as four-way stops. For assistance with paratransit or bus services during this time, please contact 504-889-7194 and monitor updates at www.jptransit.org. For community assistance, Bright is now open. I'm going to let Sarah talk about more of that in Metairie. Those in need of oxygen, if you don't have, you need oxygen, you can call our number here at the Emergency Operations Center, 504-349-5360. Sept has launched a property damage survey for residents to report damage to their homes. All residents are asked to visit www.damage.la.gov. Information collected here will help parish, state, and federal authorities better understand the location and severity of damaged impacts. And again, I'll say it again, our emergency operations phone number is 504-349-5360, or text us. We had a lot of new text people join. JP Alert to 888-777 or JP Noticias to 888-777 for our Spanish-speaking citizens. Okay, with that, I'm going to bring up our sheriff, Jefferson Parish, Joseph Lapinto.
Thank you, Madam President. You mentioned Grand Isle, which we accustomed to helping out a lot. I want to say we've received a call from Mayor Carmerdell. Not only was he relatively unscathed, for the first time ever, he said, "How many people do you need?" He wanted to send some people up. So I wanted to give him a shout out for that, because that's not often that they certainly have the people to be able to come back and help us. We had a relatively busy night last night. Our calls for service for the day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Was just under about 1,000 calls for service, which is overall about a 26% decrease in what a normal day looks like in Jefferson Parish. But what's telling is between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. last night, almost half of those calls came in during that period of time. Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office continued to respond for the vast majority of those calls, and during that time on the West Bank, when the roads allowed, wind did not really inhibit us much last night, only for really a short period of time, but then water certainly inhibited us on the East Bank. We adjusted as always. We had not only our hard water vehicles out with pickup trucks, but also had our international trucks, so we were able to assist EMS and fire to be able to get to certain calls for service that we deemed that were emergency during that period of time. And then as the flood water decreased, we moved additional personnel into there to be able to catch up on all the calls for service. So by this morning, everything was caught up and back to normal. I still have extra patrols on both sides of the river, especially dealing with the areas that are still out of power, to make sure we have a quicker response time and be able to provide the patrol through the night here in Jefferson Parish. But as of right now, our calls for service are caught up, and we're happy to respond to anything needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to acknowledge Senator Kirk Talbot for being with us as well. Thank you for being with us. Okay, on behalf of the council, our chairman, Council Chairman Scott Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. I think this is a perfect example of what we saw over the past 24 hours of you never know. This hurricane went east of the National Hurricane Center forecast. We were still in the cone, but that made a big difference. Before this hurricane, we talked about Lower Jefferson and how our biggest concerns were with Grand Isle and Lafitte. And we see how that turned out. They were the ones looking at us, seeing how bad our damage was going to be. So it's important to never underestimate, never lose track of what's out there, and pay attention to what could be headed your way, because in an instant, it will be headed your way. And we ended up seeing a little bit more, I think, absolutely flooding-wise than we expected. A reminder, please, to keep an eye on official sources, because last night a lot of rumors were thrown out there, and we had to spend a lot of time shooting down rumors and putting the truth out there. So make sure that you use your media sources that you tune into and our Facebook and social media channels to get the proper information when we're going through a disaster like this, because we are getting the real information that then goes to the media and we put it out as well. I spoke to our contact at Waste Connections, our garbage collector, just moments before this news conference, and the parish president alluded to this, but also we know that a lot of people, because they are without power, their refrigerator contents will go bad and their freezer contents will go bad at a certain point if they don't get power back. So they're going to have all hands on deck. They're going to be bringing all the trucks to pick up all the things. So if you put that stuff out, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to stay out and it wasn't going to be there for 4 days or whatever until your next big garbage pickup. So they will be picking up everything that you put out there within reason. Don't start throwing the whole refrigerator itself out and expect it to be gone immediately, but they will pick up the bagged contents along with what's in your cart. And if it is food that's spoiled, they'll get that up as well. A big shout out to our Public Works employees and parish employees who are out there in all of this, who have been working in this building countless hours and who are on the streets. We passed a crew this morning from the streets department that there was a water main break on Conifer in Metairie, and they had already dug up the street, like literally pulled up all the concrete and fixed the pipe, and we're in the process of fixing it. So kudos to everybody who's out there working in less than ideal conditions right now. If you have an emergency to report still, as the parish president mentioned, report it to the EOC. Contact us. We'll point you in the right direction, and we'll make sure that what you need is attended to and that your emergency, if it is one, is satisfied. And I think that's all I had. Our thoughts are with our friends in Kenner, who obviously got hit hard once again. Hurricane Ida did a number on Kenner, and because of that eastward shift, and what we talked about a little bit earlier in the week, that northeastern part of the storm that spun through Kenner walloped it once again. So we're going to have some assistance with Kenner in the coming days, we know. And if you had damage in Kenner, I know Councilwoman Van Vranken's been talking about this with people in Kenner today. Email us, email her office, let us keep track of some of the damages that are happening in Kenner so that we can properly chart that and make sure that everything is accounted for. And if you have any questions, reach out to our council offices. We're all on standby. We're all here working, and we're all anxious to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next up, our Chief Administrative Assistant over Public Health, Sarah Babcock.
Good afternoon. As the parish president mentioned, we had 67 people and 3 pets at our Tarrytown playground last night, as well as 60 individuals that JPHSA was able to move off the streets for those who are unhoused and temporarily house them. As we alluded to, we are now opening Bright Playground at 3401 Cleary Avenue as the new shelter location. We'll be shutting down Tarrytown later this afternoon. Since most of the impacts were on the East Bank, we are opening that site for anyone whose home was damaged to a level that they cannot stay there, or if they need power, particularly for medical devices or other reasons. And we want to mention, we really want to thank our recreation staff, our Human Services Authority staff, our JPSO and LCMC EMS, who made the shelter possible. They've been doing a lot of training since Ida, and it really showed that the team was really ready to go. If you have questions about the shelter or need assistance to get there, you can call us here at the EOC, 504-349-5360. We've also been in contact with all of our healthcare facilities throughout the night and again this morning. We still have a number of facilities that are on generator power, but all are operational today. So all of our hospitals are fully functioning, dialysis centers are back open, and all of our nursing homes are doing well. We know that many people who are on oxygen at home may use concentrators, and with a loss of power, that might not be an option. If you need an oxygen tank, while you do not have power, you can call us here at the EOC, 504-349-5360. Thank you.
Sarah, kudos to you. You know, Sarah was brought on right before Ida. I will tell you, I'm very, very proud of how much we've improved our sheltering operations and the training we've done since the year since Ida. We had a couple of infants. We had some pets. You know, we had those supplies ready. They were trained for infants coming in, pets coming in. We were able to keep the pets with their families. So we've really made great strides in that, in being able to care for people since Ida, and we were able to see it happen last night. I know you were pleased about it. I was too. So thank you, Sarah, for that, for your leadership on that. Okay, I know everybody is interested in our school system. So Jefferson Parish School System Chief Operating Officer Patrick Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of Dr. LeBlanc as well as Dr. James Gray, I'd like to give you an update today. We want to provide an update on the current status of our schools as we work through the challenges caused by Hurricane Francine, which caused power outages as well as infrastructure issues throughout the district. Our team, I'd like to thank them for their hard work, our operations team in particular, all of our JP employees for their hard work and being well prepared and has been working tirelessly throughout the storm and its aftermath to ensure safety and security of our students, staff, and our school community, and our school and administrative buildings. We are actively addressing and responding to any of the damages where we can. A significant number of our schools have been damaged, however, and still without power. Additional, a significant number of schools are experiencing power loss at some point during this event, and now we have food spoilage, and we'll have to dispose of the affected items. We're working with our vendors to replace all food loss. Some schools are also facing water leaks, and we also have seen trees fall on campuses, as well as additional infrastructure issues in terms of roof leaks and things of that nature. In addition to schools, they are still dealing with some power outages. Some schools have other operational concerns as well. We are monitoring our sewer systems, as the Mayor President said, and that's ongoing. We appreciate your patience and understanding as we navigate through these difficult circumstances, and we'll continue to keep the public informed of any new developments and timelines for recovery. These updates will include any information we have about athletic events as well. We will share all of our information on all of our platforms, our social media, web pages. All this information will be provided to the public as soon as we have all the information needed to make the appropriate decision regarding school being open or closed. Our priorities remain the safety of our students, staff, and the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jenkins. Okay, next up, you know Mark Well, our Director of Public Works, who oversees drainage, water, sewer, streets, parkways, traffic control, as well as our Director of Drainage, Ben Lapine.
I'm going to try to give you a status report basically of all of Public Works, but I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the 500 Public Works employees that have enabled us to get to where we are today, representing our 8 departments: capital projects, drainage, engineering, environmental, parkways, sewer, streets, and water. We'll start with the sewer system. Roughly around 4:30 yesterday, just due to I&I, we had roughly 28% of our wet wells in our 514 sewer lift stations exceeding their capacity. The wet well is where your gravity flow comes from your houses and businesses, goes into that wet well, and then it's pumped either to the next lift station or eventually it gets pumped to the treatment plant. This morning, because after the hurricane hit energy, we lost so much power across the parish, roughly 281 of our 514 lift stations, those wells were exceeding their capacity. That's roughly 55%. So obviously this morning, we have deployed already at 25 of our lift stations a 6-inch pump, 2 of our larger lift stations are 12-inch pumps. We've put 8 generators out at another 8 of our lift stations. We have gotten some energy power back online. So roughly right now, we're looking at just 20% of our lift stations that now have that high level. So we're around 103 out of 514. So we're making progress. We'll continue to make progress, and especially as more energy power comes on. So we do still ask that you conserve through tonight. That will help, but we are making progress, and hopefully I would anticipate by the end of tomorrow, provided we get a significant boost in energy power, we'll be in pretty good shape. It is important to note that our systems were not significantly damaged at all. Our underground lines and our pump stations, we had no significant damage. Let's talk about safety. Our traffic signals, we have 150 parish-wide traffic signals. As of 6 a.m. this morning, we had 49 out because we didn't have power to them. We had another 18 with minor damage that were out. Obviously, we went out to try to start addressing those issues. As of 1 p.m., we're down to 27 without power, okay? I have 13 of the damaged ones that are still out with minor damage that we're working to repair. 5 of them we have partially activated. But it's important to remember that by law, okay, if a traffic signal's out, it becomes an all-way stop. But what our traffic division has been doing as well is all of our major intersections that are still out, they're putting temporary stop signs out to try to assist, to make it as safe as possible, and we will continue working that. Let's take a quick peek with regard to our parkways and streets departments, just to let you know. This was not a significant anywhere near an Ida, or we did have trees down and debris, but basically through today, they cleared 36 roadways with either partial or complete trees across them. All our major roadways are cleared. There are a few streets will still have some blockages because we have some trees down tangled with energy power lines, and we do not touch those. We'll have to wait until energy can address those. But we're in very good shape as far as our major roadways are clear. All right, from that, let's go to drainage. I just want to say a little bit before Ben comes to talk about some specifics. This was a very unique event in that typically when we have a large drainage storm, it will affect, say, a large section of Cannon. It might hit the same time a portion of Metairie, and most of that is going to end up at the lake. But it's all interconnected. Our 5 major drainage pump stations, we have east-west canals that can help distribute that load, and we can pump. Well, unfortunately, this event, the entire East Bank was affected at the same time. So the entire East Bank was getting that 7 to 9 inches all day. So there was, all of our pump stations actually got overwhelmed. You will see that we had our canals overflow in West Esplanade at Lake Avenue. That's one end of the parish. It overflowed in Canner as well. We had West Napoleon sections overflowed, some of West Metairie. So our entire system at the lake was overwhelmed at one point, and that's just strictly due to the volume. What happened that was a little bit unusual in Kenner, and Ben will go into this, we had some issues with pumps, and what that did was it delayed us being able to drain Kenner, okay? Other portions of the parish were coming down before Kenner, and Ben will go into specifics of what happened and how he was able, what we resolved to eventually drain Kenner, okay? Ben?
Thank you, Mark. During the course of the event, we experienced mechanical issues at the Duncan pump station, resulting in 2 of the 6 pumps being affected. And the MSY Airport experienced mechanical issues as well at their station, affecting 3 out of the 4 pumps that service the Kenner area, both of which caused prolonged efforts for the dewatering of both Kenner and Duncan Basin. At 5:30, Pump 4 shut down for unknown reasons and were unable to start Pump 3. The operator started troubleshooting and was able to start Pump 3 at 7:10, but unfortunately it shut down 30 minutes later. Mechanics were able to safely arrive to troubleshoot the situation at 10 p.m. to replace the engine starter, which is what we believed was the main problem. Unfortunately, this was not successful. After continued efforts, and at 2:30 a.m., we were able to identify 2 valves which allowed the lake storm surge to backflow, which prevented the engines from starting. The backflow did not raise the flood level since we continued to pump with 4 out of the 6 at the Duncan pump station. However, it did reduce the rate at which we were able to remove water from the streets. So once we did repair the valves, we were able to start pumping it and get the streets clear from floods. Thank you.
Okay, and everything that Ben was talking about was for the Duncan pump station at the lake. Okay, next up, Entergy Customer Service Manager Jimmy Aiken.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. Jimmy Aiken with Energy Louisiana. As of 1:30 p.m., Jefferson Parish has 48,000 residents that remain without power. Since daybreak, we have been able to restore 30% of all Jefferson Parish customers and expect that trend line to continue today as our crews identify and repair additional damage. Once the storm passed last night, energy crews got to work restoring critical infrastructure such as pumping stations and sewer lift stations. We also prioritize hospitals and nursing homes that serve the community. We stayed in constant contact with hospital leadership throughout this entire restoration process, and we can confidently say that all are running effectively either on backup generation or on single feed. I believe the only hospital that remains on backup generation right now is Ochsner Kenner, which we are working to restore as we speak. Kind of a little bit to touch on Mr. Drews over here. So he did say vegetation concerns were a big part of the outages in Jefferson Parish. We did have a lot of vegetation that fell through our lines. We still have limbs that are on our lines. We have vegetation crews right now actively working to remove those lines. As they remove those limbs. As they actively remove the limbs, we have linemen going behind them, riding those feeder lines, so that way we can get large pockets of Jefferson Parish customers back up and in service. We anticipate restoring a large portion of Kenner that was highly impacted by substation outages by tonight. So that's a very good thing for us and for the city of Kenner. This includes Pontchartrain Shores, Driftwood, Airline Park, Westgate, and West Metairie. And in addition, we expect to bring back 5,000 customers on the West Bank. We will also be publishing information on when majority of customers in Jefferson Parish can expect to be restored for planning purposes. I know there have been a lot of questions from parish officials about ERTs or estimated restoration times. As of right now, we are still scouting the area on both the east and west bank of Jefferson Parish, so we cannot provide that information at this time. As we scout these areas more, we'll be able to provide more information for you. Lastly, I'd like to just provide y'all with just a few safety tips. As always, if you see down power lines, please report them immediately. You can call 1-800-9-OUTAGE. That's 1-800-968-8243. Please stay away from any down power lines. There are a lot of active lines right now on the ground that are energized. If you see one, if you even think that it could be a communication line, please stay away from those. We'd also ask that you refrain from approaching any of our linemen as they are working, not only for your safety, but for their safety as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our linemen, our contractors, and our mutual aid partners. Everybody that's been on scene since late last night, early this morning, has done a phenomenal job to try and get power back to our community. So I really want to thank those line workers for leaving their homes, whether they're from here, whether they're from out of state, to come and help us. We do have 600 resources currently in Jefferson Parish working to restore power. We do anticipate, we did get it approved to receive more help, so we do anticipate that help arriving either later tonight or early tomorrow morning to continue restoration efforts. We will continue to work with Jefferson Parish officials throughout this entire process, and if y'all have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to your local elected officials. We've been in constant contact with them since 2 days before the storm, and we'll continue to be in communications with them since. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Next up, Atmos Energy Public Affairs Manager Leah Obie.
Thank you, Madam President. Atmos Energy crews are working in hurricane-damaged areas, surveying, repairing, and replacing natural gas infrastructure while also restoring natural gas service as safely as possible. While there were no outages in Jefferson Parish, we still prioritize our safety and your safety as well, and want to remind the public of the following natural gas safety tips as recovery efforts are ongoing. If you smell gas, leave immediately from the affected area, and from a safe distance, call 911 or Atmos Energy's 24-hour emergency response line, and that number is 1-866-322-8667. Never try to find the source of a gas leak. Do not use a mobile phone or anything that might cause a spark, such as a generator. If flooding has occurred at a residence or business and the gas appliances are underwater, do not try to operate the appliances. Instead, contact us or a qualified service professional to conduct a safety inspection. Know where your natural gas meter is located and want to make sure that it's visible and free of trash and debris. Mechanical equipment used to clean up after a storm could damage the meter if it is hidden. Atmos Energy customers that do experience a natural gas outage or service interruption should contact the company's customer service number, and that is 1-888-286-6700, and the customers will be restored as quickly as possible once the area is deemed safe. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Thanks, Leah. Next up is our Director of West Bank Fire Services, Don Robertson, and Director of East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, Charles Hudson.
Good evening. First, I want to begin by saying how proud I am of the Jefferson Parish firemen for their weathering the storm last night and going through is what they went through for us. Very dedicated men and women. Jefferson Parish Fire Department responded to 125 calls of service between the hours of 4 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. this morning. Emergency responses consisted of automatic alarms, auto accidents, power pulls, downed tree limbs into homes, water rescues from vehicles stranded, and a few flooded homes. No major fire incidents or reported injuries. We also assisted LCMC East Jefferson EMS with the high water rescue trucks to get some of the high water areas because of some urgent or medical needs within the community. Next, I want to talk about what is most important right now with the power outages that Energy are diligently working to make those repairs. There's a lot of portable generators and home generators being used out there. Do not place your portable generators inside a structure or a garage carport area. Make sure they're fully in the open area. Instead of placing a generator, make sure you do 20 feet away from your home, 20 feet of space all the way around. Before refueling, make sure you let that generator cool for 20 minutes at a time. Never try to power the house wired by plugging in the generator into a wall outlet backfeeding the home. Have a fire extinguisher nearby your generator in case something happens. Home standalone generators. Give that generator a break once or twice a day to allow the exhaust fumes around from your home. Open windows and doors during that break time to allow the carbon monoxide buildup inside of your home to clear out. And ensure the generator is being properly maintained, including all oil changes frequently after your uses.
Thank you, Chief. So I'm going to talk a little bit about carbon monoxide poisoning. Improper use and installation of a generator could cause CO, carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide can kill you in as little as 5 minutes. Make sure your home has a carbon monoxide alarm outside each sleeping area and on every level of the home. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning is dizziness, headaches, nausea, and tiredness. If you experience carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms, get fresh air. Do not re-enter the area and call 911. As Chief Hudson said, we are very proud of the emergency services in Jefferson Parish. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, the fire departments, all West Bank and the 3rd District Fire Department, and of course, our emergency medical services. These departments responded to 103 calls for service. Those calls consisted of auto fire alarms, power lines down, traffic accidents. There were no major injuries. We assisted a healthcare facility on the West Bank with a generator problem to keep life safety equipment operational. We placed 2 3,000-gallon water tankers and 2 high water rescue vehicles to assist if needed. As Sarah Babcock talked about, we have 2 locations set up for the distribution of oxygen bottles. They are Station 20 at 4110 Hudson Avenue in Metairie and Station 81 at 808 MacArthur Avenue in Harvey. We still have homes without power, so as the president said, let's don't let our guard down now so that we wind up with this storm with no injuries or death from carbon monoxide incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, I do want to give an opportunity for our municipality of Kenner to come up and speak because they were really probably the most affected on the East Bank. I know Chief Conley, I hope he's getting some sleep. He was up very late into the wee hours of the morning. Mayor Glazer as well, Councilman Arito Bohannon, we were talking 4:30 in the morning. You were still out on the street. And I know you're still going through the structures. I did speak with our staff this morning. If I just had the question because you are a municipality and we normally work that. Juliette Cassan is over our departments for property if we help you with the damage assessments, but it's actually your responsibility to do the damage assessments as a municipality of Kenner. So, but we stand by ready to assist with whatever you need, okay? But that would go under your FEMA request. So, Mayor Glazer, Councilwoman Arito Bohannon represents District 4 if you want to come up.
All right, really quick. Thank you so much, Madam President, for clarifying that. We are asking that if you suffer damages in Kenner, that you reach out to your Kenner council person, your mayor, and you can certainly reach out to my office. And the real reason that we're wanting that is so that we can assess the financial damage that was done to Kenner, so that when we make federal applications, we can apply depending on the amount that we actually suffered. And but this is not in place of your insurance agency, and it's certainly not in place of your FEMA request. It's more of a courtesy to us, if you don't mind. I was happy last night. You know, Madam President is correct. We were out to the wee hours of the morning driving around. I was happy that everyone heeded the warnings. There were no cars really on the streets, save for one entity, and that was the Kenner Police Department, and they were everywhere. I was incredibly proud of their dedication last night. They were everywhere, and they were keeping us safe when we were not able to be on the streets ourselves. So kudos to them, along with the other 700 parish employees that reached out and that helped and fought with us last night, because it was a fight. Every single member of the council reaching out to me, our Senator Kirk Talbot first to call, asking what he could do to help, and we are going to need some help. South Kenner does not flood, typically. Even in Katrina, we didn't flood. We flooded for this event. I have to wonder if the airport's 3 out of 4 pump stations not working contributed, but I can tell you this, we will find out, and we will get to the bottom of it, and we will be taking every action we can to make sure that we're in the loop and we're aware of what is happening at the airport in the future. There is going to be an opportunity for food distribution in Kenner. We are working with CRC. We know that a lot of you are without power still, and we're going to try to arrange that. Please stay tuned to my Facebook page, the mayor's social media. That'll be posted so that as soon as we can have that all together for you, we can share where to go and what you can expect. Mother Nature dealt us a little bit of a blow last night, and she's running a victory lap around Kenner right now. But she forgets how resilient we are. And this is not our first storm. And this morning I watched neighbors helping neighbors, sharing shop vacs, ripping out each other's carpet. That's what Kenner is. So I know we took a blow, but awful proud of my community tonight. Mayor?
Thank you. Like we always say, every storm is a little bit different, and this one by far was the one that surprised me the most. While we expected saturated soil, a lot of wind and rain, would have a lot of trees down and power lines down, but as I left last night to drive around, I saw none of it. The hardest impacted part of the city of Kenner was in and around some of the northern side drainage canals, the Duncan Canal, some of the east-west feeder canals, and the canals behind Tulane Drive in University City. That's where all the major flooding was. We're still doing the post-assessment on residents now, and we're probably going to be well over 100 that had some type of water in it, from a couple of inches to the highest we've had so far is over somebody's knees, which is probably about a little over 2 feet. I know the councilwoman is going to say it's closer to 300 residences, but we know some people left. Some people haven't reached out to us yet. So we're working at that tomorrow. And with that said, our staff and the departments are working on this recovery. Our administrative offices will be closed also tomorrow and reopening again on Monday. I'd like to give some thanks to President Sheng and Mark Drew's staff, because they kept us informed along the way. Whenever they call before storm, anything they need, call during the storm, and usually ask, what do you need? And we normally just say, we'll let you know when we need something. Well, this time it's a little bit different. They told us some problems with a mechanical system fighting Mother Nature. And in Kenner, when you had our lift station rain gauges starting at 6 p.m., started with like a tenth of a rain leading up to it every hour, to over 2 inches of rain in 2.5 hours, to the total of anywhere from 9 to 11 inches of rain in 2.5 hours is going to overwhelm even if their system was running at 100%. So it's a lot of rain. It was pretty much the worst case scenario for us in low-lying West Kenner to have this, and they pumping. I went out at 4:30. I did get some sleep, 2 hours last night. I went out again around 4:30, and the water just started to recede in the last intersection, which is West Esplanade and Loyola. And of course, that's where all the national media set up. And once it started draining, within 15 minutes, the whole intersection went from like 2.5 feet to, it was dry. So with that said, we also asked people that had damages that didn't call us and have access to the internet to report their damage at damage.la.gov. That'll also give us a count through the governor's office of structures that were damaged. I'm happy to say that finally we had little government buildings that were heavily impacted with this storm. We just had a few inches of rain in one of our buildings in Rivertown, and the only street that will remain closed through the foreseeable future is Williams Boulevard at Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, which is 3rd Street to River Levee. We do have a leaning power pole that, when it's fixed, we'll open that roadway back up. I think that's about all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Glazer. Councilman Bohannon. Any questions for anyone? Yes. Mike?
I think that what surprised people most was the flooding, drainage situation, residents as well as officials, and you mentioned some of the pumps for the 3 out of 4 at the airport being out. Are those under control of Jefferson Parish?
The airport, no, but I'm going to let Mark Drews tell you. And look, when we started, I want to tell you what happened last night. It was late. Mark, we think it was midnight when we were sitting. And I want to give kudos to him because it took him, knowing that we had high water in the Kenner area, he immediately went to look at, deep dive into the details on Kenner. It was probably about midnight, 12:30, even when I didn't leave here till 1:30, so we might have been working from 12:30 to 1:30 on this. So I want to give them kudos. I think we discovered more this morning when we had more time to look at it. It's about being transparent and getting the information out there as soon as possible, and I was glad that we got it out there in the wee hours of the morning. He was sitting with me, as soon as we found out this information, we got it to you all. So I want to thank him because it was a long day, but I know you all were working on that. So this is more of the detail on that. Mike wants to know about the airport.
The aviation board is responsible. They run that pump. We do have SCADA there. So like Ben will tell you, we knew they were having troubles. They were starting their pumps, running for 10 minutes, down for half an hour, and they did that multiple times. So Ben had called them and just, look, we see you having problems. What, anything we can do? Where are you? Said, we're working the problem. We're doing the best we can. So they are responsible for those pumps. But that's, we're monitoring ours, so, they know how to operate their pumps and how to fix them. So we did know they were having problems, but, there was nothing really that we could do, to forego their problems that they would experience.
I guess the follow-up question is, of those 194, pump crash wide, do others go out completely or intermittently? And how, looking at the New Orleans system where everything is so interconnected, with 3 of the 4 airport pumps being out or maybe problems elsewhere, have caused a cascade of additional problems?
No, I can tell you, it's kind of like I told you, even if they were running, we still would have had flooding, okay? Because, as I told you, this is a rare occasion where the entire East Bank experienced that same 7 to 9 inches, okay? So everything except for Pump to the River, which drains part of Harahan, and we do have some mini Pump to the Rivers in River Ridge in that area, everything else works its way to the lake, okay? So what you will see is we had Suburban, Bonneville, 100%, no problems with the pumps. You'll see, and we have the SCADA data, the spike, that they were basically exceeded their capacity, just like Duncan, just like Parish Line. And that's why when I was up here, I was telling you, I had overtopping by Lake Avenue on West Esplanade. I had overtopping in Kenner. So I had issues all along West Esplanade because that's the closest to the lake. But I also had overtopping, and we did have some flooding in Metairie. I had overtopping in sections of West Napoleon and sections of West Metairie. So this was an unusual event. Now, look, there's no doubt that what happens at Parish Line, and it is the smallest of all those pump stations, about 600 CFS. One pump was pretty much working through the night. So what typically happens with what doesn't go in, it'll work its way by gravity to Parish Line. Now, Parish Line, we didn't have the same issues, okay, that we had at Duncan, okay? Duncan was another case where we had already talked about the 2 pumps, we had issues there. But parish-wide, the only other 2 pumps that were down, and one for just a period of time at Elmwood Pump Station, which had one of the highest rainfall totals. 8 out of our 10 worked the entire time, okay? One pump went down at 8:30, okay? We had it back up and running at 10:30. One pump didn't work, but Ben will tell you that we basically had 95% capacity running at that. So all our interior pumps were working. So you're looking at maybe, for us, 4 pumps that when we started the day, we had 192 of 194 with 2 temporary pumps to take those place. We lost 4 pumps during that period for us, a portion of that time.
I guess the only follow-up question, given this event, is there anything you might look at going forward? Rain seems to be becoming more intense. These are, storms with climate change, obviously, that have to now, be possibilities for the future. Is there any thought of what could be done to prevent this from happening?
Look, we, like every storm, and we're not 100% sure of exactly what time and exactly what went wrong with the ones at Duncan. We have a pretty good idea. So after every storm, we will, take whatever steps we think to try to prevent it in the future. But I can tell you, all of our pump stations were expanded, okay, after Katrina. They were upgraded. For a typical, even what we call the 10-year storm that they were designed for, we have excess capacity. This was way over that, okay? Because we have capacity where if a pump is down, because what we do is we know we have to service pumps. So we have excess capacity at 10, and if I can take one out of service and work on it, I'm still good, okay? But in this case, we far exceeded what the whole system is designed for. And again, that's not just the pump stations themselves. My major drainage canals are designed to handle that 10-year storm, just like, unfortunately, our subsurface, that's the current design standard, but we do have older sections that aren't. So the system is already set up for some redundancy, but that redundancy is only to that 10-year storm. And again, you're talking billions, because even if I increase my pump station capacity, if I can't get the water through the drainage canals, say for a 100-year storm, then all I got is excess capacity. I'm still not going to do it. So actually the system is designed with some redundancy, but in this case, that's kind of just where we are. But we obviously will see what lessons learned. We will try to reach out and see if we can't assist the aviation board and kind of see, we'll obviously work with them to see what their issues were. And, if there's any assistance we can give them, we will do it.
Thanks for that detailed answer, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the parish president on top of that answer, sort of, whether, given that it would have flooded anyway, even if these pumps were working, is part of that after action report gonna be determining whether you need to up certain investments in the drainage system, that be part of the consideration?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mark and Ben need the time to look at all the systems, the sewer system as well. I mean, but we're covered that. We just have a new updated sewer system for the next 20 years. We have the resources in place, the funding is there. We just haven't been able to get all the projects done yet. So that, that's the I&I is from an aging infrastructure with cracked pipes underneath. But Mark, you want to go more into the drainage and your process of what you do?
We're always looking to increase capacity. I know, Rita, there's a project on the books that's under design actually to add another pump station that will drain, and you know the area better than I do, okay? Now, we're in design. It's roughly $13 million, and maybe you can speak to what that will help. So we're always looking, because we know we have weak spots, and Kenner's one of them. So there is a plan on the books to build another pump station that will take a certain portion of water straight out to the lake, and I'll let her.
The location of that new station is going to be in Seton Park on the corner of Platt and Joe Yinny, right? On the corner of Platt and Joe Yinny, and it'll be in the Driftwood, in the Seton Park neighborhood. But it's really going to service all the entire northwest of Kenner, because when you look at the map and where our stations are, there's really nothing in that area. And this lift station is actually great because it's going to go right over the canal. Right over the levee. It's not going to go through the canals. So it's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure that's on those two canals that get married right there in that corner. So it's a great opportunity. But it is a very expensive project, and it is in final design.
Any other questions?
So City of Kenner said around 100 homes, structures.
Yeah, they're in the midst of counting. Mayor, you want to speak on that? Because, again,
Unincorporated areas, or
we're going to work on that. I don't have a count this morning. Let me tell you, driving through last night, it's hard to figure out what structures flooded. They were asking me last night. We were driving around. Everybody was sleeping. It's hard to tell if you're looking at the outside of a house at night, did they take water or not. Many people may not have called us. Many people were calling Kenner, maybe other. I did reach out to Mayor Bodier and Harahan. I think they fared well. They actually drained very quickly. So clearly the bulk of the structural flooding is in Kenner, but we will find out as the days goes on, if they report it to us, what other structural flooding there is, okay? And you all are working on, I know you have an interim report that you have as of now. You shared it with me, but they will do that. And again, we all have to report to FEMA, the damage assessment groups they have their own staff, and what happens in Kenner will get reported through the municipality of Kenner. Normally, I'm speaking about unincorporated issues, but they have their staff that's going to work that, and it'll go under their FEMA claim. Any other questions? Yes.
You talked about age for the sewer system in Jefferson Parish. Did age play a role for the infrastructure of the drainage system and the pumps as
those pipes in that area, Ben?
No, it wasn't age. It was just normal mechanical failures, just like you see on your car. So.
Any other questions? Okay.
For the school district.
Yeah.
Mr. Jenkins, do you have any sense of like when parents can expect an answer as far as whether there'll be school or not tomorrow?
Yes, Dr. Gray should be making that decision today. So I would say later this evening, we will be sending a correspondence out to parents, either again via our social media, webpage, or other means of communicating with parents.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you for being with us. Again, the Emergency Operations Center number is 504-349-5360. If any remaining issues are there, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you for getting the message out this entire hurricane.